In the temptation of the sea, Sandra is forced to choose between her love for William and her desire to dive into the ocean, which causes her to doubt who she is and where she really belongs. As Princess Sandra and Captain William carried on traveling together, a strong desire started to grow inside Sandra. The call of the water, the beckoning of her true home, was too strong for her to resist. Even in the happiness and love she experienced in her relationship with William, Sandra felt herself more and more divided as the days wore into nights between her love for William and her natural affinity for the undersea environment. Sandra was drawn to the sea's captivating sounds as they evoked memories of the colorful life that lived beneath the waves, the freedom of riding the currents, and the magic of her mermaid ancestry. She missed the comforting embrace of the ocean, its depths full of mysteries and secrets she wanted to discover again. Sandra's relationship with William started to suffer as a result of this internal conflict. He did not miss the longing in her eyes and her moments of reflection. William was sympathetic and understanding, but he couldn't help but feel more and more anxious and uneasy. He wondered whether he could ever match the sea's attraction, if he could really give Sandra the satisfaction she desired. Sandra set off on a lonely trek to a remote beach in the midst of this emotional upheaval in the hopes of finding peace and clarity. The breaking waves reflected back to her from the coast the turbulent thoughts racing through her head. She wondered where she really belonged, where her identity actually lay, and if she would ever be able to reconcile her two worlds. Sandra came upon an old sea turtle in the stillness of that moment. It was a kind and wise being that had seen the rise and fall of innumerable lives. The sea turtle, sensing her inner turmoil, told stories of love, grief, and the quest for self-awareness. It brought to Sandra's mind that her path was more than just choose between William and the sea. It also involved accepting who she was and discovering inner peace. Sandra came to see that her love for William and her relationship with the ocean could coexist under the sea turtle's direction. She knew that her soul belonged in the deep, but that didn't make her love for William any less intense. Rather, it enhanced her encounters and made it possible for her to recognize the beauty of both worlds. Equipped with a revitalized sense of self, Sandra went back to William with a love and understanding-filled heart. As she told him what she had discovered, she reassured him that her love for him remained constant and that her need for the water did not lessen their relationship. They committed to navigating the complexity of their entwined lives together, encouraging one another's aspirations and finding comfort in the knowledge that love has no bounds. Sandra and William developing a closer bond based on tolerance and assistance for one another. Sandra learned from her self-discovery trip that she was complex and that her love of William and the ocean could coexist together. As she continued to negotiate the wonderful complexity of her life, she carried the teachings of love, acceptance, and self-discovery with her as she accepted her job as a bridge between two cultures with a renewed sense of purpose. A murky veil of betrayal and jealousy hovered over Sandra and William's relationship in the pristine realm of Atlantia, where love and acceptance were starting to blossom. They were unaware that Serafina, a competitor mermaid, was extremely envious of Sandra's contentment and her relationship with William. Endangering their hard-earned happiness, Serafina devised a wicked scheme to ruin their love and reveal Sandra's true identity while being consumed by her selfish ambitions. With her alluring looks and sneaky personality, Serafina had long craved for the love and admiration Sandra seemed to attract. From the shadows, she witnessed the blossoming love between Sandra and William, but her heart was filled with hate and resentment. Seraphina descended into her jealousy and let it dictate her behavior, determined to acquire what she felt was properly hers. Seraphina planted doubt and distrust in the hearts of those closest to Sandra and William with meticulous precision. She took advantage of their friends' and allies' concerns and insecurities by whispering malicious rumors and making up stories. Those who had previously stood by the couple began to harbor suspicions, which gradually grew and threw doubt on their love. When Sandra and William heard the whispers, they experienced a wave of doubt and bewilderment. Because of Seraphina's deceit, their once unwavering faith in one another started to wane. Their love and understanding were the cornerstones of their relationship, but as they began to doubt one another's motives, everything fell apart. In the meantime, Seraphina devised her riskiest scheme to date, telling the world that Sandra is actually a mermaid. She was aware that Sandra's safety would be in danger, as well as any possibility of a future with William being destroyed by this disclosure. She pulled the threads from the shadows, starting her plan with a wicked smile and a vile heart. Sandra and William found themselves thrown into a tornado of mayhem and peril as the truth came to light. Their formerly tranquil lifestyles were now characterized by worry and uncertainty. They had to face the betrayals that threatened to split them apart, both internal and external. Sandra and William came to understand the depth of their love and the tenacity of their relationship in the face of hardship. They were not going to let Seraphina's behavior to dictate their happiness or to define their relationship. They banded together, rallying their supporters to fight back against the betrayal that threatened to overwhelm them. Sandra and William broke through Seraphina's devious network with bravery, forgiveness, and unflinching resolve. The tides turned against the jealous mermaid as they revealed her true intentions to those who had been duped. When Seraphina realized what she had done, she was forced to face her own problems and consider the pain she had caused. William and Sandra survived the upheaval stronger, their love surviving the test of treachery and jealousy. They gained an understanding of the value of communication, trust, and fortitude in the face of difficulty. They clung to the conviction that their love was unshakable and that nothing outside could stain the purity of their relationship as they pieced together the pieces of their broken trust. Chapter 8. Jealousy and Betrayal. Envious of Sandra's affection for William. A competing mermaid schemes to undermine their bond and reveal Sandra's actual identity, endangering their happiness. Following Seraphina's treachery and unrest, Sandra and William were forced to part ways amid excruciating pain. They were compelled to face their darkest fears and make decisions that would protect each other, even if it meant sacrificing their own happiness, because of the weight of their love and the threats that surrounded them. Sandra and William learned with heavy hearts that their love would not be enough to protect them from the dangers that lay ahead. They knew that their opponents wanted to take advantage of their weaknesses and destroy them. They painfully decided to keep their distance from one another in the hopes that it would keep them safe from harm in the future. The emptiness that their parting left behind threw a shadow over their spirits as they set out on their respective adventures. Every day seemed to go on forever, and their hearts ached for the companionship and presence they had previously experienced. William and Sandra struggled with uncertainty, wondering if the suffering they went through was worth the sacrifice they made. Sandra took comfort in the ocean's embrace when she was at her lowest. She dove into the depths of the ocean, taking solace in the known waters and the companionship of her fellow mermaids. But her desire for William did not lessen, not in the slightest, even in the splendor of her undersea world. The sea, which had once brought them comfort, now acted as a continual symbol of their estrangement. In a similar vein, William forged on into uncharted territory in search of allies and resources in order to shield Sandra from the approaching threats. His heart craved for the warmth of her presence, but his commitment to keep her safe drove him forward. Without her by his side, the days felt more empty and the nights were colder. Sandra and William confronted their own personal struggles as their paths parted. They faced fresh foes, stretched themselves thin, and faced the limitations of their own power. Every encounter brought back memories of their love and the lengths they would go to in order to keep one another safe. Sandra and William found a greater strength in themselves when faced with hardship. They came to understand that their love was characterized by their unshakable dedication and selflessness rather than by being physically close. The memories they had of one another, the vows they had made, and the hope that their paths would cross again someday gave them strength. Even when Sandra and William continued on their individual adventures, their hearts remained connected. They were prepared to face their anxieties and make painful decisions in order to keep their loved one safe. They never wavered in their resolve to defend one another. Even though they were on the verge of giving up, their love persisted, lighting their way and serving as a constant reminder that sometimes we have to make the most painful sacrifices in order to save the things we care about. Sandra and William's paths eventually crossed again after going through the darkest moments and the agony of being apart. They realized that their love had been tried and tempered by the hardships they had faced, so their reunion was both happy and heartbreaking. They banded together to get over the challenges that stood in their way because they were determined to fight for and defend their love. Sandra and William faced Seraphina, the enraged mermaid whose betrayal and jealousy had led to their first split, with a fresh sense of purpose. Still driven by envy, Seraphina tried to rip them apart again. But Sandra and William resisted her schemes because of their love for one another and the lessons they had learned. Joining forces against their shared enemy, William and Sandra came up with a strategy to outwit Seraphina. They turned the tide in their favor by taking advantage of their knowledge of her flaws and desires. As they sailed the perilous waters of Atlantia, their unwavering commitment to safeguard their love and guarantee their happiness drove them at every turn. Sandra and William encountered surprising allies on their trek as they faced Seraphina's fury. When they showed their friends and allies how committed they were, many who had before doubted their love sided with them. Bridging the gap between the human and mermaid worlds, their bond's tenacity and the power of love inspired everyone around them. But the difficulties they encountered went beyond Seraphina's schemes of retaliation. Their efforts were threatened by the lingering rejection and prejudice of their own worlds. Sandra and William realized they had to face the ingrained prejudices in their society if they were to truly find forgiveness and acceptance. In an effort to promote empathy and understanding, they set out on a mission to close the gap that separates humans and mermaids. They aimed to prove that variety can bring people together and that love has no bounds. Sandra and William dispelled the biases that had long separated their worlds by acting as rays of hope. Its pinnacle when William and Sandra faced Seraphina one last time. They defeated her evil plans by using their togetherness as their sword and their love as their shield. When Seraphina saw how resilient and unwaveringly determined the pair was, she suddenly recognized how foolish her jealous pursuits had been. She experienced a flash of atonement, admitting her mistakes and trying to put things right. Sandra and William triumphant in their fight against Seraphina as well as their pursuit of acceptance. Their reunion and the struggles they overcame strengthened their love and made it stronger than anything that could have happened. Together, they became change agents, encouraging mermaids and humans alike to embrace empathy, understanding, and love. Sandra and William stood as a witness to the transformative power of atonement and the force of love as the curtain closed. They had successfully negotiated perilous seas, triumphed over biases that tried to drive them apart, and endured storms of treachery. Their trip served as a reminder that anything is possible and that the world may shift irrevocably when two hearts are joined in love. Following their victory over Serafina and their quest for harmony, Sandra and William encountered an unforeseen obstacle. Sandra's hidden identity as a mermaid, which she had been zealously protecting, was revealed to the human world. The shocking discovery shook society and created a deep sense of amazement and intrigue. People from all walks of life became interested in Sandra when word of her genuine personality spread like wildfire. The ramifications of such a discovery sparked heated debates and a flurry of speculation in the media. The distinctions between various species were questioned, and conversations about acceptance, love, and the essence of humanity itself took center stage. With her sudden prominence, Sandra served as a focal point and a symbol for these conversations. To some, she was an oddity, a monster that needed to be subdued or dreaded. Others were in awe of her and marveled at how beautiful and singular her existence was. The disclosure spurred a worldwide dialogue, compelling people and communities to face their deeply rooted prejudices and assumptions. Scientists, philosophers, and academics from all over the world were driven to try and solve the mysteries surrounding Sandra's mermaid nature by their natural curiosity and need to understand. They investigated the biological, cultural, and societal ramifications of humans and mermaids coexisting, delving deep into the field. New discoveries and the pushing of the boundaries of knowledge changed our perception of what it meant to be human and challenged long-held beliefs. As the discussion progressed, proponents of unity and acceptance surfaced, arguing in favor of acknowledging the intrinsic worth and dignity of all species. They maintained that the long-standing boundaries separating humans and mermaids should be overcome by love and compassion. The disclosure of Sandra's secret sparked a movement that encouraged people to examine their biases and adopt a more accepting perspective on the world. Nevertheless, opposition to this novel viewpoint also surfaced. A divided society resulted from the clinging to the hearts of many people in skepticism, fear, and prejudice. Some questioned the long-held notion that humans are superior than mermaids, while others claimed that the coexistence of humans and mermaids constituted an insult to the natural order. The ideological spat grew more intense, underscoring the difficulty of negotiating the new territory of acceptance and comprehension. Sandra and William were pillars of strength and optimism in the middle of the heated argument. They advocated for love, acceptance, and the removal of boundaries using their newly acquired platform. Their romantic tale came to represent the strength of empathy and the ability to get over divides. Once a source of vulnerability and personal dread, Sandra's disclosure served as a spark for cultural change. The globe on the verge of collapse, balance between hate and acceptance, kindness and dread. There was no apparent end in sight to the ongoing global controversy. The dawn of a new era that would redefine the meaning of love, acceptance, and the interdependence of all species was imminent for humanity. The future of Sandra, William, and the world they lived in remained unclear as the narrative progressed. The decisions taken in the ensuing chapters would decide how history developed, as well as whether acceptance would triumph over prejudice and love over fear. Their quest had grown to encompass more than just them, It was now entwined with global destiny, pushing humanity to welcome the unknown with open minds and hearts. Sandra and William are embracing their position as ambassadors for interspecies partnerships in light of the changing global landscape. They set out on a quest to bridge the gap between the mermaid kingdom and the human world, determined to create harmony and erase the biases that had long divided them. Sandra and William became ambassadors for acceptance, empathy, and understanding by drawing on their own experiences and the lessons they had learned. They made a lot of trips, interacting with people, groups, and leaders on both sides while expressing their personal love story and the transforming potential of accepting diversity. Their combined efforts ignited a movement that encouraged individuals from all walks of life to defy the obstacles that had kept humans and mermaids apart for eons and to reevaluate their preconceived views. The unflinching dedication of Sandra and William to togetherness struck a chord with those who longed for a society in which acceptance and love were not limited by species. Together, they planned public gatherings, symposiums, and conferences with the goal of promoting communication and creating understanding. The discussions surrounding interspecies connections were further enhanced by the participation of experts from a variety of professions, such as biology, anthropology, and psychology. Support for Sandra and William's cause increased along with their influence. Through the use of their gifts, singers, poets, and artists explored themes of love and togetherness among all species, producing works that moved people all around the world. By progressively tearing down the barriers that had kept humans and mermaids apart for generations, their combined efforts fostered a cultural revolution. Sandra's discovery and her subsequent lobbying efforts in the mermaid kingdom set off a surge of introspection and self-examination. After being kept too long in the ocean's depths, mermaids started to doubt their own prejudices and anxieties. A growing curiosity and yearning for human connection caused the barrier separating them from the rest of the world to start to come down. Similar to this in the human world, opinions gradually changed as a result of Sandra and William's attempts to foster understanding and the disclosure of Sandra's actual nature. Fascination and empathy replaced fear and skepticism when people saw how similar experiences and feelings united all living things. It's pinnacle when Sandra and William arrange a historic gathering of representatives from several human nations and the rulers of the mermaid realm. This is a significant moment that represents the potential for a time in the future when harmony and peace rule. The mermaid kingdom forms new alliances and agreements with the human realm through negotiation, compromise, and a shared goal of unity. Initiatives are launched to collaborate on scientific research, cultural exchange, and environmental conservation. Mermaids and humans collaborate to improve both societies as the two realms start to blend together. Sandra and William are at the front of a new era in which it is possible for two planets to unite and where species boundaries are blurred. In addition to changing their own lives, their journey from loneliness and despair to love and acceptance has also changed the course of human history and the fate of the mermaid realm. The harmony they have cultivated is evidence of the efficacy of love, comprehension, and the common fate of all entities. Through their unshakable dedication and tireless work, Sandra and William have cleared the path for a future in which the lines dividing us now become a tapestry of diversity, acceptance, and interconnectedness.